I'd been wandering the dark web for hours, clicking through abandoned forums and broken links, when I found a live feed titled Body Mod Extreme, Audience Interactive, and the name alone made me hesitate, because it sounded like one of those fake shock sites people pass around to scare newcomers. But something about it, maybe the fact that there were no comments, no views listed, pulled me in anyway. The stream opened to a fixed overhead camera pointed at a metal operating table, the harsh fluorescent light above it making the steel shine too brightly. And standing beside it was a man in a surgical mask, his hands resting calmly on the edges of the table, his posture so still he could have been carved there, while on the table lay another man, unconscious or pretending to be, his skin pale under the light, a slow rise and fall in his chest the only sign he was alive. The chat on the side was a constant flood of anonymous usernames posting requests, most of them ridiculous. Shave his head, tattoo something stupid on his forehead, and I almost closed the tab, thinking it was a bad joke, until a single comment appeared in bold white text. Peel the skin from the throat. Better airflow. The surgeon didn't react right away, just stood there as if weighing the command, and then he gave a small nod, picked up a scalpel from the tray beside him, and without any anesthetic, began slicing into the man's neck with slow, precise motions, folding the skin back in deliberate layers until it hung like the opening of a shirt. And my stomach turned so violently I had to clamp a hand over my mouth, yet I couldn't make myself look away. The chat went wild, the requests growing more vicious, until one caught his attention. Remove the eyelids. He set the scalpel down, took a pair of surgical scissors, and in a few swift movements did exactly that, revealing the raw, unblinking eyes beneath, the patient's gaze darting but never producing a sound. And I realized I'd been gripping the edge of my desk so tightly my fingers had gone numb. I told myself not to interact, that typing anything would mark me, but anger flared before reason could stop me, and I typed, "What's wrong with you?" The surgeon stopped mid-motion. His head turned slowly toward the camera, and as he stepped closer, the fluorescent glare caught the lenses of his glasses, hiding his eyes until he leaned in so near the screen that only his masked face filled the frame, and then he said my full name in a voice so calm and certain it felt less like speech and more like a sentence being passed. When he stepped back, a second gurney was already in the room, something under a white sheet, and I remember telling myself not to watch, that nothing good could come from seeing. But my eyes followed his hands as he pulled the sheet away, revealing someone who looked exactly like me. Same face, same hair, even the same shirt I was wearing in that moment, lying still, except for the slow, steady rise of their chest. Before I could move, the feed cut to black, the tab closed itself, and when I tried to find it again, my history was gone, as if it had never existed. But 2 weeks later, while walking home at night, an unmarked white van rolled to a stop at the corner near my building, the driver wearing a surgical mask and watching me in absolute stillness, before lifting one gloved hand and giving me a slow, deliberate wave. I bought the laptop from a pawn shop on a rainy Tuesday, not because I needed it, but because it looked like the kind of machine someone had poured their life into. Worn keys, faded stickers, the faint smell of old cigarettes baked into the casing. And when the owner said it came from an estate sale, that the guy who owned it had died under strange circumstances, I felt the kind of pull I should have walked away from, but didn't. When I powered it on at home, it booted straight to the desktop without a password, and one of the icons was for an encrypted email client I'd never seen before. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it to find the inbox full, every message from a different address, some with subject lines like job complete or payment received, others with nothing but strings of numbers, and most of them on red. That first night, I told myself I'd just look at one or two, but as soon as the clock hit 3 a.m., new emails began to arrive. Dozens of them, each one describing a murder in chilling, clinical detail, complete with attached photographs of the crime scenes. The timestamps all within the last 10 minutes. And the worst part was how none of the victims were in the news yet, as if whoever was sending them wanted me to know before anyone else did. By the third night, I noticed the addresses in the photos were getting closer to my neighborhood until one arrived with a body slumped in an alley I recognized just 2 blocks from my apartment, and that's when I finally tried to delete the account, but the client wouldn't close, the screen freezing as a new message came in with the sender listed simply as me. The subject line read, "Don't open the next one." I stared at it for a full minute, my pulse thudding in my ears, torn between closing the laptop and clicking it. But before I could decide, another message arrived. No subject this time, just a video file as the attachment. I knew I should walk away, but I hit play anyway. And the footage was grainy and dark, yet unmistakable. Someone was filming me asleep in my own bed from less than a foot away, the camera lingering on my face, then slowly panning to the closet door behind me. Halfway through the video, the file name changed in real time, the letters flickering until it spelled out, "We're home." I slammed the laptop shut so hard it rattled, convinced I'd just watched something impossible, and I sat there in the dark for the rest of the night, listening to every creak of the building, every shift of the pipes, until just before dawn when my phone vibrated with a new email notification, even though I'd never connected that account to it. And there, in the preview text, was a single line, "Check the closet." I'd been trawling obscure dark web marketplaces for months, not because I wanted to buy anything illegal, but because there was a certain adrenaline in looking into places I wasn't supposed to be, like standing at the edge of a drop and leaning forward just far enough to feel the pull. And it was during one of those nights that I found a single post buried in a forum I'd never seen before. Just a string of numbers and letters, followed by a timer counting down from 5 minutes, and no one had commented on it, which somehow made me want to click it even more. The link took me to what looked like a high-end auction site. Polished black background, clean interface, lot numbers displayed neatly on the side. And at first, the items seemed normal enough: rare watches, antique furniture, vintage cars. But when the next lot appeared, I realized the pattern was wrong, because instead of an object, there was a dimly lit video feed of a person tied to a chair, eyes wide, breathing fast, and the text beneath it read, "Lot 37, estimated time until expiration, 42 minutes and 19 seconds. I sat there frozen, trying to decide whether I was looking at some kind of dark art project or something real. But then the bidding started climbing in real time. Usernames I didn't recognize, throwing down absurd amounts of cryptocurrency. And as the camera shifted slightly, I saw the victim's face more clearly and felt my throat close because it looked like Ryan, a friend I hadn't spoken to in months, someone who'd gone missing and was last seen leaving a bar 2 streets from where I lived. I wanted to back out right there, but before I could move the mouse, a private chat window opened on the side of the screen, a message in bold white text saying, "We see you, bid, or you're the next lot." I told myself it was a bluff, that there was no way they could know who I was. But then another message appeared containing my full name and my home address, and suddenly my hands were slick with sweat and my heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. And I realized that if I stayed, I was risking my life, but if I left, Ryan was done for, and that choice dug into me like a blade. In a moment of panic, I placed a bid, more than I could afford, thinking maybe I could win the auction and find him somehow. But as soon as my bid was accepted, the feed glitched and the timer vanished, replaced by a new camera angle showing another victim being dragged into the same chair, and my stomach turned when I saw it was me,
or someone who looked exactly like me, tied and gagged, eyes wide with the same confusion I felt now. And before I could even process it, the auctioneer's voice cut through the feed for the first time, smooth and cold, saying, "Sold." The video went black. The site booted me out, and my browser history was wiped clean as if it had never happened. But later that night, just as I started to convince myself it was some elaborate scam, I heard a single knock at my apartment door, slow, deliberate, and when I looked through the peephole, there was no one there. Only a small white card on the floor with the words Lot 38 printed neatly in black ink.